So hi guys and girls, my next video here just explaining how the variable weights on my new Mizuno ST200G driver work and the effect that they have on the center of gravity. So that's actually not that new these days. I think there's another one that's just come out, but anyway, the concepts that apply to these weights apply to pretty much any variable weight driver. With the two weights on an angle to one another, it gets slightly more complicated. So anyway, most people are aware that by shifting the weights either forwards or back, forwards you can reduce the spin, reduce the forgiveness, reduce the moment of inertia. Putting the weights to the back, you increase the spin, increase the forgiveness, increase the moment of inertia. And then by putting weights in either the heel or toe, you can affect the draw or fade bias of the club. So if you're not sure about gear effect or what moment of inertia is, just have a look on YouTube for those videos. There's plenty of videos on that, but if you'd like me to do one, then I'll explain that. But this is really to explain what effect these weights have on the position of the center of gravity. So if you like what I'm doing and you like what you hear, then please subscribe and like the video. But anyways, back to the Mizuno. So with two weights, things get a little bit more confusing than if we just had a single weight like we do on some other clubs. So to understand the effect of the two independent weights on the two separate tracks that are slightly angled to one another, we have to sort of consider the combination of those two weights to be one equivalent weight, which is equal to the sum of those two weights. So I don't know what the weights are in these, but if they were 5-gram weights, putting them both in the front is the equivalent of moving one 10-gram weight around. So by drawing a line between the two weights, we can find the midpoint, and the midpoint is the effective weight of these two weights. We'll consider this point, this effective large weight, as the center of mass, even though technically it's not the center of mass of the club, it's just the center of mass of those weights. It's not the center of gravity of the whole driver head, but as you move that center of mass around, the center of gravity of the driver head will follow it, just to a lesser degree. So by moving the weights from the front to the back, we're in essence moving a large weight down a central track. So we've seen that in other drivers, either full forward for low spin and low forgiveness, or full back for high spin and high forgiveness. But by separating the tracks and placing them at a slight angle to one another, it allows the effective position of the weight to be moved toe to heel, as well as front to back, and variations in between. So positioning both weights in the toe or the heel gives us two more lines along which we can move that center of mass, so now making the driver either heavily draw biased or heavily fade biased, as well as then higher or lower spin in those fade or draw bias settings. So the beauty of this arrangement is that the weights can be moved up and down the tracks independently. So having one forward and one back gives variations on the amount of spin produced and the amount of fade or draw bias. So if we want a mid-spin, mid-fade based setting, we'll put the toe weight forwards and the heel weight back, as I've got set up here. So that makes it slightly less forgiving for a toe hit, slightly more forgiving for a heel hit. Then conversely, swapping these around, if we want a mid-spin, mid-draw biased setting, we'll move the toe weight backwards and the heel weight forwards. So that'll give us the mid-spin. The effective weight will be in the middle, but slightly towards the heel side. So more forgiving on a toe hit and less forgiving on a heel hit. So then by altering the amount that the weights are moved up and down the track, you could actually move the equivalent center of mass of these two weights anywhere within the diamond shown in the graphic there. So this really is for fitters, so they can dial in the spin, draw, or fade bias. So I think most people are going to find themselves within one of the 4 points of the diamond, the sort of mid-range settings, rather than the extreme fade or extreme draw bias settings, but they're there if you want them. So I hope that it helps explain how these weights affect the movement of the center of gravity of this particular club. So there's an awful lot of settings there. But if you want more information, as I said earlier, on gear effect and on moment of inertia and what these things actually mean, then by all means let me know, and I will give you another video. So thanks for watching. I suppose that's how I did it with driver head settings. Gave myself a mid-spin, mid-fade biased driver. I hope you enjoyed it.